Now, I never really truly 100% thought about the things that I'm cutting my fruits and vegetables and meats on, but let me just say that after reading this article and then looking through my own drawers at my own cutting boards, these 3-pack cutting boards or anything like this, these are the plastic ones. They're going to be your cheapest option, obviously, but they are also going to be probably the most detrimental to your health. And let me explain why you're going to want to go with something a little bit different than those. So it turns out plastic cutting boards are an awful idea, which I've thought of that, and we've talked about that previously, that maybe for sanitary reasons they're not the best, especially for chopping like meats and things on. But it turns out it's worse than I really thought about, and I don't know how this escaped me. After everything we talk about here with what has what's going into our bodies, what chemicals and what plastics and everything else are in like water bottles and in food and everything else, how this escaped me, I have absolutely no idea. But I want to explain this to you, why I will now be throwing away all of my plastic cutting boards. So you see this here. This is an article that I found on Yahoo, and it says some people are ditching their plastic cutting boards because of this new disturbing study. Their words, not mine. And the thing is, I'm going to read you some of this, and then you'll understand why now I'm like, well, all of my plastic cutting boards must go into the garbage. And it's not because of the unsanitary, I guess you could say, practice of cutting meats and then falling behind it with fruits and vegetables. Technically, you should have separate cutting boards for each style of thing that you cut. Fruits on one, vegetables on another, meats on another, cooked meats versus uncooked meats, separate those as well. You should have basically an entire drawer full of cutting boards. But according to this says that, and we've talked about these numerous times, plastic is everywhere. From the food we eat to the air we breathe, plastic in the air, tiny particles of plastic, also known as microplastics, can be found in almost anything. Not only does plastic cause real havoc on our oceans and take centuries to decay, which is true, causing even more of an environmental crisis, but toxicologists have questioned whether consuming microplastics can negatively impact health. I'm gonna say the answer is probably yes there, especially if there are pieces of plastic you're using on a regular basis, like say your handy dandy plastic cutting board. So this is where it got me, because again, I constantly think about the fact that I use plastic cutting boards for everything. You know what? I'm gonna pause this and I'm gonna show you my plastic cutting boards. Hold on. So these are the 3 cutting boards that I use pretty much on a daily basis. And you can see plastic, 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 which I never really thought of in the terms of what we're talking about today. You can still see the cut marks here, clearly on here, also on here. And you see how no matter how much I try to clean these with baking soda or vinegar or any of that stuff, the colors do not come out from where I have cut cucumbers and carrots and cooked chicken and raw chicken. So what is the solution? All right, so now you guys have seen exactly what I'm talking about. I always thought that maybe there was still some food color from something I cut before that was getting into the new stuff or whatever else, but it's actually a lot worse than that, in my opinion. It says here, carrots were chopped on a cutting board made with polypropylene and another with polyethylene. Scientists evaluated what the total exposure would be per person when using these types of plastic cutting boards. Both are plastic. At the end of the study, they found these plastic cutting boards resulted in, get this, 1,114 microplastic particles, basically pieces of plastic that are less than 5 millimeters long, on the carrots each time the board was used. This means a plastic cutting board could generate 15 milligrams of microplastics per cut and around 50 grams a year, which is the equivalent of 10 plastic credit cards going into your stomach, because you're cutting the carrots to eat the carrots, obviously. So in theory, I don't know how often they're talking about, this daily. I doubt it's daily, but equivalent of 10 plastic credit cards going into your body by using plastic cutting boards. And the problem here is that the plastic ones, as you saw in the beginning of the video, are much, much cheaper than any other option. So when you are on a tight budget or you don't have money for the higher end things, you get what you can because you need something to cut your fruits and vegetables and meats on, right? So you go for the plastic ones, not realizing that, of course, the things that are designed to be, what's the right word? money, whatever, money saving, that's not the right word, but we're going to go with it. Money saving are also the ones that, generally speaking, seem to have the biggest health impacts on the people who are using them or buying them, whether it's the foods, whether it's the plastic cutting boards, whether it's, you know, the things you use to clean your body, whether it's the medicines that you take, things like that. So according to this, the study regarding microplastic consumption seems bleak. Evidence suggests that microplastics can be found in our blood, our lungs, and even our placenta, and can be potentially hazardous towards our physical health. A 2022 animal study in South Korea found microplastics can interfere with digestive, respiratory, endocrine, and even our reproductive systems. Yet, while this research will make a plastic cutting board user seem wary, it's important to note that science is still new and very limited. All right, cool. Science can still be new and limited, but I mean, if I go upstairs right now, because I'm in my Jeep outside the apartment, if I go upstairs right now, and it's kind of cold, which is why I'm wearing my little ear cover headband here. If I were to go upstairs right now and I have carrots, I have the carrots, you know, full on carrots, not like the little baby carrots, none of that stuff. I go upstairs and I cut them. Now I'm like, can I take a microscope and see just how much plastic has ended up in my carrots? Because I eat carrots daily. It's not helping my eyesight, just so we're all fully aware. I'm blind as a bat without my glasses on. So that whole, it helps your eyes. Liars. They just taste good. But if I were to go up there and do that, I bet I could see all the microplastics. So then, of course, I'm like, well, what is your best option? Because I know a lot of people have wooden cutting boards and a lot of people use granite cutting boards. So I looked it up just to kind of see the difference. And of course, granite's going to be expensive. It's freaking granite. But according to this, granite is non-porous, so it won't soak in any nasty bacteria the way a plastic cutting board might. As they're quite hard to the touch, granite cutting boards can be noisy. If you like to cook meals with quite a lot of fast chopping actions, you may find them irritating to use. And it says here, beyond its durability, the granite surface being non-porous, preventing the absorption of stains. This makes it incredibly hygienic, easy to clean, simply requiring a quick wipe with a damp cloth or mild soap. They're also really heavy, so keep that part in mind. Most granite cutting boards are going to be really heavy also. But then the other one that I have here, it says, I looked up like wood cutting boards, and it says, even though wood is harder to sanitize and can't go in the dishwasher, which I was not aware that wooden cutting boards shouldn't go in the dishwasher, wood is naturally antimicrobial, whereas the gouges and crevices that inevitably happen, as you saw on my cutting boards, inevitably happen when they're cutting on a plastic board, offer plenty of spaces for bacteria to hide. So this says wooden chopping boards, reading from here. The wooden chopping boards are the safest, easiest, and best option for your kitchen with self-healing and antibacterial properties. Wooden chopping boards are the board of choice. They are practical, durable, and look great too, and are the ideal surface from which to prepare delicious home-cooked meals. I'm sure plenty of you are already fully aware of that, but again, not everybody knows everything, which is why I wanted to kind of bring this up, because it is, in my opinion, something that is a small change that you could do for yourself to have a little healthier aspect, if you will, a little less plastics in your body. They're putting enough plastics in our foods to begin with, rice and everything else. You don't need it in your body because of something you have done to yourself. Do you know what I mean? So I like my plastic cutting boards. They work great. They're not noisy, but obviously they're also not the best option. So those will be going to the trash. Those aren't something I would ever donate because clearly they've been used and they're stained and everything else. So those will be going in the trash, and I will end up putting a little bit of money into getting a wooden cutting board. For me, wooden makes the most sense. They had me at antimicrobial and anti, or whatever the other word was. Now I can't remember. They said self-healing. Yes, self-healing. You had me there. So I'm going to end up going with a wooden cutting board. But I just think it's important to have these little talks about what could benefit you in the long run physically, even if it does maybe possibly hurt your wallet for just a second. I think that, in my opinion, obviously, that it's worth the benefits of your health. Because my dog, so when I get my dog food, I get like the big 40-pound bag or whatever, and I dump it into the rolling food holder. I don't know what you're supposed to call those things. So it's easier to feed him, you know? And I was scooping food into his bowl yesterday. And there was a piece of plastic. It was literally, let's see, how long was it? It was like the size of like my fingernail, but like half of it. And it was like, it looked like a candy cane shape. It was like a little candy cane shaped white piece of plastic. How and why? how and why. It's not from the container that it's in. The container is clear and it has a blue lid. There's nothing white on it. It's not from the bag that it came in. There was no plastic on the bag itself. So where did the plastic come in to the food? Had to happen in manufacturing. So people talk all the time about how there's plastic in rice, there's plastic in this, there's plastic in that. And yeah, there's a ton of plastic in everything. So if you can make small little tweaks for yourself to consume 10 credit cards worth less of plastic by just switching your cutting board, I say you have to, because if that's how much plastic is in our bodies just from cutting carrots on a board or whatever, fruit, vegetable, whatever you're cutting on there, how much more plastics are entering our bodies from all these other things they were eating, where they willingly and knowingly allow plastics into it, if not, you know, like on purpose, put plastics into it. So that was just that. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. I'm sure, again, most of you guys know this, but again, not everybody knows everything. I am still learning. There are plenty of people here viewing that are still learning. So thank you for letting me learn and teach at the same time. I appreciate you immensely, Squirrel Tribe. I love you immensely. I have plenty of things to bring you today. That was just something that I saw and wanted to bring it real quick. So I hope you have a good morning, and I will see you again in just a little bit. Okay? Love you. Bye.